listening to the Talkative Toastmaster podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Surplus. In this podcast, we explore how Toastmasters can help you to polish your public speaking skills, communicate with confidence, and amplify your authenticity. You'll hear from my fellow Toastmasters and I how this global organisation has impacted our lives for the better and how it could impact yours. Now, let's get talkative. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 44. This week, I'm going to talk about my experience as an area director, 3 months into the role. In episode 32, I gave an overview of what this role entails, but today I'd like to get into the nitty-gritty of what I've been up to for the last 3 months, look at some themes I've observed, and look at what the next few months looks like. Before we begin, though, I'd like to say that if you're not yet a Toastmaster or are relatively new to Toastmasters, the first 30 episodes of this podcast are going to give you a deep dive into what you can expect from visiting a club. We look at the benefits of joining Toastmasters, what actually happens at meetings, and what each of the speaking roles you may see on a club's agenda involve. And in those episodes, you'll also learn about how club meetings can help you to develop confidence in both prepared and impromptu speeches, and what opportunities are available to help you develop additional skills through taking on club leadership roles or going down the speech contest path. My many guests have illustrated these points with inspirational stories of their own Toastmasters journeys, so definitely go and check those out. Now, if you're currently a club executive or are considering putting yourself forward to be an area director next year or at some point in your Toastmasters journey, this episode will hopefully give you a bit of a glimpse into the role. So just to recap, the purpose of an area director is to ensure that each club fulfills its responsibilities to its members. That's what we're here for. We want to make sure that everyone is getting the most out of their Toastmasters membership and that clubs are supporting them to do that. As was explained to us in the district leader training I attended in June, an area director is really that direct link between the clubs and the division and district levels of the organisation. So let's now look at my first 3 months and what I've been up to. Probably the main activity to date has been the regular club visits. Officially, I'm required to do 2 club visits to each club in my area throughout the year. I have to do 1 set of visits in the first half of the Toastmasters year and the second visit in the second half. Now, I have 5 clubs in my area, and the first thing I did was very early on in July was to get out to each of the clubs for an unofficial club visit. And that was just really to get to know the members, to meet the new executive teams, and to get a feel for what the challenges and opportunities for each club were. And club visits are a great way of broadening my own Toastmasters experience, as well as sharing insights that I see from visiting so many clubs with each club. So there's unofficial visits and then there's official visits. As I said, I need to complete 2 official visits per club per year. And when I do an official visit, I have to complete a report that is submitted based on my observation and discussions with the club executive, and that's submitted through the Toastmasters website. It gets sent to the division and district leaders and Toastmasters International. And really, the reports focus on a series of questions and observations that's focused around the Moments of Truth document. The way Toastmasters considers moments of truth is that when a new member is reaching out, they have an interest in Toastmasters, they go to the website and look up somewhere that they might want to go and visit. And really from then on, each touch point that person has with the club, whether it's through the website and that club answering any queries or through the club's Facebook page and responding to any queries or questions there, right through to the moment they walk through the meeting door and into the meeting room, how it's all set up, and from there how they are treated and how they are sort of welcomed into the club and invited to become a member, and then going a little bit further, how they're onboarded. The report is quite detailed, and it's like doing one big evaluation, and everything we do in Toastmasters is evaluated. I've talked about that in many episodes previously, but the area director visit is just like that. It's effectively an evaluation. So we're looking for the strengths and the things that the club are doing well and what they should continue to do. And then we also look at points for improvement and really just make suggestions based on what we feel that their challenges are and which aspects that we feel they could be doing better. It's not an edict. Really, the recommendations that area directors make are just suggestions based on their experience and based on what they may see in other clubs and based on helping the club to overcome whatever challenges. So in that report, we look at things like first impressions, and that's, how is a new member greeted? Are they welcomed? Are they greeted by name? Are they given a name tag? Is the meeting room set up professionally? Is everyone made aware that there's a guest in the room? Is the meeting room conveniently located? Is it easy to get into? One of the most challenging things for some clubs is being in difficult to find venues. And it's okay once you've been there, but if you're a guest and you can't actually find how to get into a club venue, there's a problem. So just really making sure that the instructions on the website about how to get into a meeting are clear, and inviting guests to join, on the night once they've had that experience. Then we also look at things like membership orientation, and this is the part of the Toastmasters Club responsibilities of, inducting new members, assigning them mentors, and making sure that they understand how the Pathways educational program can support their public speaking goals. We also want to ensure that clubs are giving new members the opportunity to speak as soon as they can. That's not necessarily scheduling their icebreaker speech the week after they start, but it is making sure that they are given roles on the agenda and the chance to get up and talk very early on. Then we also look at things like fellowship, variety and communication. This is, again, making sure that visitors and guests feel welcome, that the meetings are interesting and well planned, that the club perhaps enjoys social events, and a chance for Toastmasters to get to know each other outside of club meetings, because often the club meetings are very, very packed with segments that everyone needs to get through in a timely way. And so often there isn't a whole lot of time to socialise, and members often want that. So, does the club have extra social activities? Then we also look at how well the agenda is planned and how well the meeting runs to time. And all of that is very important to ensure that, firstly, the meeting is run smoothly, and secondly, that we're getting through each segment, that speeches are running to time, that every speaker is getting an equal opportunity to have their time in the limelight. And are they getting helpful, constructive feedback and evaluations that actually allow them to progress? Then we look at membership strengths, so how many members the club has, how many they're aiming to get, and what strategies they put in place to attract and retain members. Each club should have in the order of 20 members, and I tend to think that the sweet spot is around 25, 26, just to allow for people being away at some meetings and to ensure that there's enough people to have each speaking slot filled. And then one of the last areas is achievement recognition, and that's really looking at how the club recognises its members' achievements, whether they're the educational goals or extracurricular activities like participating in club officer training or working on their distinguished Toastmaster projects, whatever it happens to be. There's many ways that we can celebrate and recognise our members' achievements in this organisation. So it's just ensuring that the club has a handle on that and is doing it regularly and visibly. And that all makes for a good quality club. And so once I've visited the club in an official capacity, I then complete the report, have a bit of a chat with the club's executive just to answer some of the questions that aren't immediately obvious, and then I submit the report. It's, again, a really interesting process because every club is different. Every club does things slightly differently, and some have long-standing traditions of doing things in a particular way. So the suggestions have to reflect that club's history as well as looking how to move them forward. So, again, the area director just makes suggestions about how they feel the club could improve and where perhaps they should focus on. And then really it's up to the club to make any changes if they choose. So club visits have been a big part of my last 3 months. I very much set out to do unofficial visits first and got around to all the clubs. And then in some cases, I've gone back and done a second unofficial visit and then started to do my official visits. So that will continue. One of the other activities has been running the first area council meeting, and this is really where I got together all my club presidents or representatives from each club, and the main focus of that meeting was the upcoming Area 26 conference. We're in the thick of contest season at the moment, and each year that's where the clubs will have their international, humorous, table topics and evaluation contests running. The winners of those then feed up to the area contests, which I'll be running, and then they feed up to the division, district and beyond. So that's all happening, and that was really the focus of the first area council meeting, as well as a chance for, the presidents and the club representatives to meet each other and just to discuss what's going on in their clubs and ask for any help if need be. I've also, in my capacity, been at the division and district council meetings, and that's where we vote on district business. Probably one of the biggest items was voting through a budget and just some of the items on that. Every area director and club president and some of the club executives have voting rights, and we form part of the division and district councils. So it's just another way of seeing the behind the scenes activity that goes to make this organisation run smoothly. Some of the key themes I've observed, and this is becoming acutely obvious from the perspective of area director in a way that had never been as obvious when I was a member and just going along my speech path. But the first quarter of the Toastmasters year, each financial year, is very heavily focused on training. So I've already been to 2 rounds of district leader training for area and division directors. One was an entire weekend, and then the most recent round was half a day online. So there's a lot of training to get people up to speed in their roles. And that filters out to the clubs and through club officer training, where, again, we're trying to get each of the club executives up to speed in their new roles. Often we have new members who have never done a role before moving into positions like secretary or sergeant at arms or, vice president public relations or even president. And we need to make sure that they're all trained up and know what they're doing. One of the opportunities that came up for me was to present sessions of the VP Public Relations Club Officer Training sessions for both the Eastern and Moreton divisions here in Brisbane. And that just gave me an extra opportunity to practice some training skills and facilitating questions and answers and just getting discussion going about the best way to market clubs. Again, these opportunities come up. They're not necessarily part of the job description, but in the spirit of saying, yes, I'll give it a go, I like to try things. I like to get out of my comfort zone as often as I can. The other big theme right now, and in the first 3 months as clubs and executives get up to speed, is arranging their club contests. Each club has, as I said earlier, it's 4 club contests. So the international speech contest, humorous speech contest, table topics and evaluations. And this happens typically in every club at this time of the year all around the world. They say that 30,000 Toastmasters globally start this contest journey every year. And having seen the behind the scenes part of it now, there is a phenomenal amount of work that goes into these contests. It's because there are quite specific rules, and each contest requires judges, tiebreaker judges, ballot counters, timers, sergeant-at-arms, and just all this stuff that you wouldn't necessarily know about until either you had to organise it or print the paperwork for it or participate in a contest. So it's fascinating to see behind the scenes, because I've only really ever seen the contesting side of it and not the behind the scenes side of it. So that has been an eye-opener for me. But in terms of my area director capacities, my role again is to help club members or the clubs either run their contests or provide support or answer questions or perhaps judge at their contests, or helping to find test speakers for the evaluation contests, or, helping new Toastmasters to get up to speed with the different elements of contests. And if you either haven't been in a contest or been involved in the running of one and someone says, hey, we'd like you to be a judge at our next meeting, that can be pretty nerve-wracking. So just making sure that in conjunction with the clubs, that they have the information they need to get out to their members and to make sure that everyone's comfortable doing that. So between training and club contests, and then just the general business of members giving speeches, which is, after all, what this organisation is about, it's really that focus on ensuring that people are getting the opportunities to speak at meetings and get feedback and all the basics of running the club. My role there, again, is supporting, whether it's VPEs, VPMs, or the presidents, to do just that. So various questions will come up. If I don't know the answer, I'll go and find it. And often what I'm finding now is I'm just pointing out useful resources. So having been around to a number of my clubs quite a few times and understanding what their challenges are, I can now start to really get specific in the resources I can send them, and like, hey, you might want to try this, or I just came across this resource, you might find it helpful, and really just helping. The clubs do run themselves, but I see my role as being their cheerleader and their, I guess, support system for whatever they may need. Now, in terms of what the next 3 months or so looks like, firstly, the big thing for me is the Area 26 conference in November. It's effectively a half an afternoon or a half day event in the afternoon, and my part in that is organising the venue and organising the 5 clubs to ensure that, firstly, we have competitors. Secondly, we have judges and all the contest infrastructure and the right people in place to manage that whole process, to make sure that winners in the 4 contests are chosen fairly and as per the judging criteria and as per the rule book on the day. And just making sure all of that is in place. And also, I want it to be a fun, engaging event. And I'm really trying to encourage all members in the district or in my area to come along and check it out, even if they're not competing, or even if they're not involved in the actual competition. I found personally that when I started to get out of my club and go along to some of these other events that brought other Toastmasters together, I really started to get a feel for, there's a whole new world out here outside of my club. And the more you hear these speakers at these levels and the evaluations and just see how things are run, I just really feel like it enhances anyone's Toastmasters experience. So if you haven't been to your area conference, wherever you happen to be as a Toastmaster in the world, I would highly recommend that you go and check it out. If you want to volunteer, I'm sure your area director or the person hosting the event would love to have any help that you can offer. So there's plenty of opportunities to volunteer in a area or division or district conference. So the area conference is one massive thing. I also need to get around to a couple more of my clubs and complete my official visits, and then I'll be done. And then pretty much we'll be gearing up to support the division conference in March. So we get to do it all again at a division level, and that's where all the clubs in the Eastern Division, so there's about 20 clubs there. Again, all the winners from the area contests roll up and we get to do contest season all again. And that'll happen again in May next year for the District 69 conference. So really, at the moment, there's a lot of contest activity, and area directors also tend to support each other, and whether that's providing test speakers for each other's contests or judging or all manner of support. We're all kind of in it together. We all have very similar challenges. So the area directors in each division and even past area directors will always tend to be available to help and to lend support because, as I said, we're all in the same boat and we all need all hands on deck for some of these conferences. So the role is really interesting, and a lot of the guests on the podcast who have been area directors previously said that the club visits was one of their favourite parts of the role. And I've got to say, it's definitely one of mine. I really do enjoy getting out to the clubs and just hearing different speeches and different evaluation styles and seeing different aspects on the agenda, different elements, different ways of doing things, all the while still being contained within the Toastmasters framework, but just each club has its own spin on it. And that is what makes every Toastmasters club unique, and also what makes the organisation. I always say to people who may be considering going to Toastmasters, definitely check out a couple of clubs in your area before deciding to call one of them home. You're welcome to go as a guest for as many meetings as you like, and it's definitely worth going along to a couple of meetings to each club that you might be assessing and just check it out, because what we don't want is for you to join a club and it might be the only club you looked at and you might not have the best experience, or that club may not be the best one for you for any number of reasons. And yeah, we would just sort of suggest go check out clubs, go window shopping and check out what is available. So in summary, the area director role at this stage is very much focused on club visits, contest preparation and training. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how contest season pans out. I'm very definitely looking forward to my Area 26 conference being done and dusted, and then seeing where those contestants go through to the following levels of competition. And then in the early part of 2025, we pretty much get to do it all again, where we start next round of club visits, where we look at the progress of each club against their plans and their goals, and just see if there's anything else we can do to continue to improving the quality of that experience for members. If you're interested in being an area director, all you would have to do would be to reach out to your president or your current area director and just start asking them questions about it. By all means, I know that if anyone came to me asking about the area director role, I'd be more than happy to spend time just going through in a lot of detail about what the role involves, how much time commitment there is, and the skills that you can gain from taking on a leadership role like this. So I hope that helps to explain the role of area director. And I'm going to keep podcasting through this crazy busy time and continue to share my observations. Thanks for listening to today's show. Head to talkativetoastmaster.com where you'll find the show notes for this and all other episodes, as well as links to some awesome Toastmasters resources. If you found value in today's content, I'd really appreciate if you could share it with friends and colleagues who may be interested, or leave a review on iTunes. This helps more people to find us. Until next time, remember the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Speech is power. Speech is to persuade, to convert, to compel. Have a great week.